Hey everyone! In the business world, few stories are as layered and complex as that of Esben Finance and Neil Wong. At the heart of this legal drama lies a tale of family, wealth, hidden payments, and deep legal questions surrounding unjust enrichment and restitution. It's a case that stretches beyond legal boundaries. The story begins with the WTK Group, a vast timber empire founded by the late Datuk Wong Hou-Lianq, a man who built his fortune from the ground up. He eventually handed over the reins of his empire to his three sons, Wong Hou-Lianq, Wong Hou-Lianq, and Wong Hou-Lianq. Among the three, Wong Hou-Lianq, or WKN, emerged as the dominant figure, the one who controlled the family's financial interests, including several offshore companies like Esben Finance, Incredible Power, Rayleigh Co., and Lismore Trading. He was the patriarch in practice, if not in title. But as is often the case in family-run empires, power can corrupt and transparency can fade into secrecy. After Wong Hou-Lianq's death in 2013, his two brothers took a closer look at the company's books. What they found shocked them. Over a decade, from 2001 to 2012, more than USD 20 million and Sing dollars 4.4 million had been quietly funneled from the offshore companies directly into the bank account of Wong Hou-Lianq's son, Neil Wong. The money had been transferred through 50 separate payments, with little to no clear documentation or explanation. This discovery sparked a legal battle that would make its way all the way to the Singapore Court of Appeal. The central issue was whether Neil, WKN's son, had been unjustly enriched at the expense of the companies, and if so, whether he should be forced to return the money through restitution. In legal terms, unjust enrichment occurs when someone benefits at another's expense without a legal basis. Restitution is the remedy that seeks to reverse that unfair benefit, putting both parties back to where they started. The companies argued that Neil had received these payments without any legal basis. They claimed that his father, WKN, despite being a director, did not have carte blanche authority to distribute company funds as he pleased, especially for personal reasons. They highlighted that many of these payments were made without board approval, proper documentation, or any clear indication that they served the company's interests. To make matters worse, the companies alleged that many of these payments were tied to a questionable split fee arrangement aimed at evading Malaysian taxes. This scheme involves splitting the revenues from timber sales into onshore and offshore components, with the offshore portion, some of which ended up with Neil, being kept off the books to avoid taxation. The companies argued that since these payments were unauthorized and part of an illegal scheme, Neil had no right to keep them. Neil, however, had a very different story. He argued that many of the payments, specifically 11 of them, were simply gifts from his father. In the world of family businesses, gifts between parents and children are not uncommon, especially when significant wealth is involved. For 3 of the payments, Neil argued that they were legitimate directors' fees and shareholder dividends from companies where he himself held positions. As for the remaining 36 payments tied to the alleged tax evasion scheme, Neil introduced the idea that this split fee practice was long-standing and well-known within the WTK Group. He claimed it was a common arrangement, not a secretive or fraudulent scheme, and that the payments he received were just part of this accepted practice. The Court of Appeal faced a complex puzzle. It had to weigh not just the legal doctrines of unjust enrichment and restitution, but also the messy realities of family dynamics, offshore financial arrangements, and even questions of tax evasion. One of the first hurdles was whether the company's claims were time-barred under Singapore's Limitation Act, which generally requires legal actions to be brought within 6 years of the alleged wrongdoing. The court found that most of the claims were indeed time-barred. It reasoned that the companies, or at least certain directors, should have discovered the payments much earlier and could not now use the courts to recover them, except in cases where fraud had actively concealed the transactions. But the court didn't stop there. It examined the nature of the payments in detail. For the 11 payments that Neil claimed were gifts, the court found no solid evidence, no letters, memos, or clear statements that WK and his father had intended them as gifts. While Neil may have believed they were gifts, the law requires clearer proof, especially when corporate funds are involved. Still, because these claims were time-barred, Neil was not required to return the money. For the 3 payments that Neil said were legitimate fees and dividends, the court again found the evidence lacking. There were inconsistencies, and the documents that might have supported Neil's claims were either missing or unreliable. Again, time bar rules shielded Neil from having to return these funds. The most complex part involved the 36 payments tied to the alleged tax evasion scheme. The Court of Appeal agreed with the companies that these payments were indeed part of a deliberate plan to evade Malaysian taxes. But, and this is where the law gets tricky, the court refused to allow the companies to recover the money. Why? Because of the principle of illegality. Courts generally refuse to assist parties in recovering money or property tied to illegal activities. If both parties were complicit in an illegal act, such as evading tax, the courts would not intervene to help one side recover money from the other. In this case, since the companies were part of the tax evasion scheme, they couldn't now claim restitutions for the funds that had gone to Neil. This case highlights the delicate balance courts must strike between enforcing legal doctrines and ensuring justice. It also speaks to deeper human truths about attachment, control, and the impermanence of wealth. Here we had a family empire, carefully built out over decades, only to fracture under the weight of secrecy, greed, and mistrust. Millions of dollars were shuffled between companies and family members, but in the end, it all dissolved to legal battles and accusations. We often believe that wealth, status, and control are permanent and defining, but as this case shows, these are often illusions. Even the most powerful empires will crumble, and the things that we cling to most tightly will slip away, leaving behind only conflict and suffering. In the legal world, Esben Finance and Neil Wong will be remembered as a landmark case on unjust enrichment and restitution, especially in how courts handle claims tainted by illegality. But beyond the legal textbooks, it's a poignant reminder of the fragility of wealth, the dangers of unchecked power, and the importance of integrity, not just in business, but in life. Thanks for joining me in this case summary. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.